The first one is judge not, lest you be judged. Okay? Judge not, lest you be judged. As you know, Jesus said these famous words. And he actually went on, even in the Gospels, to say that we are to judge, that he was judging. It was incumbent upon the Lord to judge. He just said that his judgment was righteous because he heard from the Father and it was based on truth. And God calls us to do the same. He calls us to be righteous judges. In fact, if you're a leader at any capacity, you are called to judge. And you really need to be renewed, transformed through the renewal of your mind concerning this, because the devil wants the church to go on viewing judgment as this dirty little word that we can't even put in our mouths. But God actually himself is a judge. It's part of who he is. It's foundational to his throne. In fact, you don't have a throne without it also being a bema seat of judgment. Even in biblical times, whenever people would approach the throne of the king, they were approaching a seat of judgment. And judgment is actually a very, very good thing when it's righteous judgment, when it's not perverted. Judgment means justice for victims. Some victims, whenever they receive justice, it actually helps to facilitate a greater level of healing. So if you don't have, as part of your new covenant doctrine, the righteous judgment of the Lord, you will inevitably end up withholding justice from victims, and you will pervert justice. Because if God's called you to be a judge and you do not judge, that in and of itself is part of the perversion of justice that God speaks against in Scripture. And I think Eli is always a great example that comes up. God judged Eli because he did not judge his sons. He did not hold his sons to account. He was indifferent towards them. He was silent. He did not act. And the fact that God judged Eli for not acting tells me it was within the purview of his authority to act, because God's not going to hold someone accountable for not doing something if he hadn't called them to do that. So if you're a pastor, if you're a leader, and really, like I said before, any role of leadership, husband, father, a boss on a job, whatever it is, you have a responsibility to judge. And really what judgment means, at its very core, it means to make a determination, to make a decision, and then follow through with the consequences of that decision. So, me as a father in my home here, I have to be a righteous judge concerning my children and concerning my home. And whenever I put a boundary down, whenever I make a law, so to speak, in my home, if my children violate that, well, I have to follow up with the consequences of that. And if I do not, then I'm not being a righteous judge in their lives. I'm not being a righteous father, and God will hold me accountable. So it's the same thing in the church. We like to throw around slogans of spiritual father, spiritual mother, but many times that really just amounts to, someone giving you a rub on the platform to help you elevate your ministry. I mean, like so many of these spiritual mommies and daddies out there, it's nothing more than a business partnership. It's nothing more than, part of this charismatic Ponzi scheme, to elevate some while, ignoring others who don't want to play that political game. But if you really are a spiritual father in someone's life, that means you have authority to judge.